Here we go, Eagles fans, if you love this team like we do, you already know the season ended in a way nobody wanted, and honestly, it felt like a punch in the gut. We all had that feeling going into the playoffs that this was our year, that the roster was stacked, that the path was clear. But then you watch the game against the 49ers and you realize something that's hard to swallow. We did not show up like a championship team. The defense did what it had to do. They forced turnovers. They made plays. They kept us in the game. But when the offense couldn't sustain anything, when we kept giving the ball back, the defense eventually wore down, and that is on the coaching staff, plain and simple. No complimentary football, no rhythm, no energy, just a bunch of 3-and-outs, over and over. And the result was predictable. You can't ask a defense to carry you through a whole playoff game against a real team with real coaching. It's not how it works. And what made it even more frustrating is seeing the 49ers do it with backups, with players who weren't supposed to be the focal point. And still they looked like a complete unit. They ran the ball, they passed it, they executed. They had a plan. That's the difference between teams that are built to win and teams that are built to make noise. We had the best roster in the NFC, and I'm not just saying that. Look at the talent on that roster. Look at the depth. Look at the pieces. We had a chance to dominate. Instead, we fumbled away the season. It wasn't just one bad game. It was a season full of missed opportunities, bad play calling, and a lack of discipline in crucial moments. And now we are left wondering what happened. And more importantly, what are we going to do about it? The head coaching situation is the biggest question mark right now. Howie Roseman has been talking to a lot of names, and honestly, some of them feel like mid-tier options, like we're just interviewing anybody who has a resume. Not necessarily the right fit for this team. We've seen guys like Brian Daboll's name floating around, and yeah, he has a strong resume. He's done things in Buffalo. He has shown he can lead an offense. But there's a big question about whether he's the kind of leader that fits this locker room. He's not the most charismatic guy. And sometimes you need that fire to push a team through the grind of a full season. He might be a good coordinator. But is he the kind of head coach that can handle a team with championship expectations? That's the real question. Then there's the idea of bringing in someone like Bobby Slowick, the passing game coordinator from Miami. That's a name that makes sense to me. He's young. He's smart. He's been around good offensive minds. And he's shown he can work with talent and get results. If he is the guy designing plays or helping design plays for Mike McDaniel, then he has something special. But there's also the risk that if he comes to Philadelphia and does well, he won't stay long. Coaches like that get snapped up quickly. And if he becomes the next big thing, he's out of here in a year or two. Still, I like that name because it feels like a step toward modernizing the offense and bringing in a fresh perspective. But let's cut through all the noise and get to the real answer. Mike McDaniel. This is the guy we should be chasing. This is the guy who knows how to build an offense that can dominate, that can control games, that can make defenses guess. We've seen what he's done with the Dolphins. We've seen the creativity, the play design, the way he can adapt and adjust. He's a human computer when it comes to the game. And yes, maybe his leadership style isn't perfect for an entire team, but when it comes to offense, he is the top option. He's the kind of coach that can take this roster and turn it into something unstoppable. Nick Sirianni has had success, sure, but the offense has become stagnant. It's time for a new voice, a new system, and someone who can challenge the status quo. Now, let's talk about the biggest rumor of the offseason. The questions about Jalen Hurts' leadership. We've seen the headlines. We've seen the hot takes. We've seen people trying to paint him as a bad leader, as someone who doesn't have respect in the league. But here's the thing, that's just not true. Those rumors get started because people want drama, they want clicks, they want controversy. But the reality is that Jalen Hurts is one of the best leaders in the league. You don't get to where he is without earning the respect of your teammates. And the proof is in what we've seen from the locker room. Players have talked about how he's grown, how he's stepped up, how he's become more vocal when needed. This past season was a prime example of that. When the team was struggling, when the coaching staff wasn't providing answers, he stepped up and tried to keep everyone focused. That's what leaders do. They don't crumble under pressure. They step into the fire. And yes, there were moments of tension, especially between him and A.J. Brown. But what people don't understand is that leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about handling conflict and finding a way to move forward. Those guys had their issues. But they worked through it, they put it behind them, they took pictures together. They showed the world that the relationship was still there. If Hurts was a weak leader, that tension would have destroyed the team. Instead, it became a moment of growth. And that's why the rumors about him being disliked are so ridiculous. When you have a quarterback who can command that kind of respect and still keep the locker room together through adversity, that's not a weakness, that's a strength. So, what does all of this mean for the Eagles moving forward? It means we have to stop pretending that everything is fine just because we made the playoffs. We need to acknowledge that this season was a failure, plain and simple. We had the talent, we had the chance, and we didn't capitalize. The coaching staff needs to be held accountable, the front office needs to make the right moves, and the players, especially the leaders like Jalen Hurts, need the support to succeed. Because if we don't fix the coaching situation, if we don't bring in the right offensive mind, we are going to be right back here next year talking about what could have been. Now let's get into what the offseason really feels like, the uncertainty. We are at that point where you can either feel hopeful or you can feel worried, and honestly, it depends on what moves the Eagles make, because the roster is still loaded. But the biggest question is whether the coaching staff is capable of maximizing that talent. We saw what happens when the offense doesn't have a plan. The defense can only do so much before it runs out of gas, and that's what happened in the playoffs. It wasn't a lack of effort, it was a lack of structure. You can't keep asking the defense to win games for you when the offense keeps stalling. It's not sustainable. That's why the coaching search is so important. It's not just about finding someone with a big name, it's about finding someone who can build a system, someone who can challenge Jalen Hurts, someone who can push this offense to be elite. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is the problem. I'm saying the system around him is the problem. When you look at the teams that have dominated recently, they have a clear identity. The offense is built around the quarterback, and the quarterback is supported by a system that makes him better. Look at the Dolphins. Look at the 49ers. Look at the Chiefs. These teams have coaches who know how to build an offense that fits their personnel, and that's what we need. We need a coach who can adapt, who can design plays that get the most out of this roster, and who can bring a new level of creativity, because right now, the offense feels predictable. The play calling feels stale. And when you're predictable in the playoffs, you get exposed. So, when you hear names like Brian Daboll or Bobby Slowick, it's natural to have mixed feelings. Daboll has proven he can win, but the question is whether he's the right fit for the Eagles. He might be too rigid, too traditional, too old school, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the Eagles need something different. They need an offense that can adapt, that can be unpredictable, that can attack defenses in multiple ways. Slowick is interesting because he represents that modern approach. He's young, he's innovative, and he's already shown he can work with talent. But again, there's the risk of him being a short-term solution. If he does well, he's going to get hired away quickly, and the Eagles need stability. They need someone who can build something long-term. That's why Mike McDaniel keeps coming up, because he's the kind of coach who can build a lasting identity. He's the kind of coach who can bring creativity and discipline. He's the kind of coach who can make the offense unpredictable and dangerous. And yes, there are questions about his leadership style, but if you're being honest, the Eagles need that kind of shakeup. They need someone who can push the players, who can challenge them, and who can demand excellence. The current coaching staff has shown that they can win games, but they've also shown that they can't win when it matters most. That's not a good sign for a team with championship expectations. Now let's circle back to the bigger picture. The Eagles have a real opportunity here. They have a roster that can compete with anyone. They have a quarterback who is still improving, a defense that is elite, and a supporting cast that is among the best in the league. But the key is whether the front office is willing to make the bold move, because if they don't, then this season will be remembered as another missed opportunity. We are not talking about a team that barely made the playoffs. We are talking about a team that was supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. And that means the stakes are high, the expectations are high, and the pressure is real. But here's the thing about pressure. It either breaks you or it makes you. The Eagles have been under pressure for years, and they've handled it well in many ways. But the difference between good teams and great teams is how they respond to failure. Great teams don't just accept a loss and move on. They learn from it. They analyze what went wrong, and they fix it. They don't make excuses. They don't blame the players. They take responsibility. And that starts with the coaching staff. Because if the coaching staff is not willing to adapt, then the team will never reach its full potential. And that's why I'm not satisfied with just making changes for the sake of change. I want the Eagles to make the right changes. I want them to bring in a coach who understands the game at a deep level, who can build a system that fits the roster, and who can elevate the offense to an elite level. Because if we don't do that, then we are going to keep seeing the same story play out. The defense will keep carrying the team, the offense will keep stalling, and the season will end in disappointment. That's not what this team is built for. This team is built to win. And the question now is whether the front office is going to act like it. So as we head into the offseason, the pressure is on. The Eagles need to make the right moves, and the fans are watching, because if they don't, the expectations will turn into frustration, and the narrative around this team will change. Right now, we are still a team with a championship roster. But if the coaching situation is mishandled, if the wrong decisions are made, that perception can change fast, and we can't let that happen. We have to stay focused. We have to stay confident. And we have to demand excellence, because that's what this franchise deserves. And that's what the fans deserve. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Here we go. As casual
Eagles
chatter
fans,
around the
if
league
you
has
love this
quickly
team
turned
like we
into a
do,
noisy rumor.
you already know
with
the
real
season ended in a
consequences.
way nobody
According
wanted.
to people
And
close
honestly,
to the situation,
it felt like a
the
punch
head
in the
coach
gut.
of the Kansas City
We all had
Chiefs
that feeling going
is
into
said
the
to have made
playoffs that
dismissive
this was our
comments
year,
about the Philadelphia
that the roster
Eagles
was
during a
stacked,
private
that the path was
conversation
clear.
that did not remain private for long. The remarks, described as sharp and unnecessary, allegedly questioned the Eagles' physicality, preparation, and overall identity, striking a nerve well beyond the locker room. Word of the comments spread fast, first among staffers and players, then through agents and media circles, until it finally reached the fan base. Eagles supporters, known for their intensity and long memories, reacted with immediate outrage. Online forums and call-in shows filled with anger, accusing the Chiefs coach of disrespect and arrogance. Even some neutral observers expressed surprise, noting that such talk is usually kept behind closed doors, especially between franchises that command national respect within the Chiefs organization. There is speculation that the comments were never meant to go public and may have been exaggerated, as they traveled from one source to another. Still, the damage appears done. The perception of disrespect has fueled an already emotional rivalry narrative, adding extra tension to any future encounter between the teams. Some insiders suggest the coach was attempting to motivate his own players by downplaying the opponent, a risky tactic when microphones and ears are everywhere. The Eagles, officially, have remained silent, but sources close to the team say the comments were noticed and not appreciated. Players are rumored to have shared the story internally, using it as bulletin board material. Whether the coach will clarify his words or let the storm pass is unclear. But the episode serves as a reminder that in today's NFL, even whispers can echo loudly for fans. Especially in Philadelphia, this was not just trash talk. It was taken as a slight that won't be easily forgotten. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.